So hello and welcome. My name is Patty Murray, and I will be your host and moderator for today's peer-to-peer webinar presented by FamilyKind, a nonprofit organization that empowers children, parents, and couples before, during, and after separation or divorce. We are able to bring you this webinar series for professionals free of charge because of the generosity of our two sponsors, SoberLink and Our Family Wizard. SoberLink supports accountability for sobriety and child safety, combining a breathalyzer with facial recognition and wireless connectivity for real-time results and reports. SoberLink's new Family Assistance Program offers alcohol monitoring free of charge to anyone who qualifies. By increasing our total research in our mission of supporting families affected by alcohol abuse, this program will help continue to reduce litigation and foster peace of mind. Our Family Wizard is a comprehensive app that enables you to conduct all your co-parenting communication on a single platform. Powerful tools document your parenting time, reimbursement requests, payments, exchanges, and more. This means less conflict and more energy to focus on your children. Today's webinar is entitled Good Talk for Parents, Better Communication Between Parents. And we are going to learn from two of FamilyKind's professionals. Next slide. Shari Bornstein, who with FamilyKind is a mediator, a parent education teacher, Good Talk for Parents facilitator, and an advisory board member. Her professional life, she is a matrimonial and family law attorney at the law firm of John Yacos. And she created Good Talk for Parents, which we'll be talking to you about today. Diane Hessman for FamilyKind is a parent education teacher, divorce coach, parenting coordinator, and Good Talk for Parents facilitator. Diane is a social worker, an adjunct professor, and a member of the Appellate Division, First and Second Department's Mental Health Panel. Also joining us today, as always, is Leslie Friedland, Executive Director of FamilyKind, who will add her insights from time to time. Just two housekeeping notes. Today we are continuing our expanded format to 45 minutes so we can answer more of your questions. And please feel free to send in your questions using the chat feature, and we will address your questions during a Q&A session at the end. With that, it is now my great pleasure to turn things over to Diane and Shari. Shari?
Thanks, Patty. Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy that you joined us today. Helping parents communicate more effectively for the benefit of their children is a passion of mine. And when I practiced in Connecticut, I had the ability to send my clients and my clients' parents to a co-parenting communication program that was well received by counsel and the courts in Connecticut. We all found it very, very helpful. When I met Leslie to talk about how this type of program would fit with FamilyKind's mission, the decision was it would be a great fit. And it was my pleasure to work with Leslie and FamilyKind to create Good Talk for Parents. We conducted a training. Our training involved lawyers, mental health professionals, and everybody was a trained mediator because those are skills that are very helpful in this program. This department is robust, ready to go, and we've handled a number of cases, and Diane will actually provide us with more details about a case that she was involved in. So this program creates a place for parents to communicate without conflict. So once parents reach an agreement and their case is over, it doesn't mean that the conflict has gone away. So parents have an opportunity to discuss parenting issues in a healthy way. They learn to solve concrete problems relating to their children. They share information so they can make the best decisions about their children. And we know that most children transition between homes. And we know that most parents want to know what's going on with their children when they're spending time with the other parent in the other parent's home. What we want to do is empower parents to resolve parenting issues, not necessarily legal issues, but we want them to be the best parents that they can be. So when we discuss the creation of this program, it became obvious that there was a piece missing. And that was, what could we do with communication that happens outside of sessions? Sometimes those communications are completely unhealthy and they can derail good co-parenting communication. So why would lawyers refer clients to Good Talk for Parents? Well, if you're like me, you've received 4-page single space emails, capital letters, exclamation points, and the last thing that you want to do is either revise your own client's email or revise an email or review an email that was sent from the other side. There are often kernels of good co-parenting information that get lost within the conflict. The other thing is that your legal case will come to an end. Your client's legal case and your representation will come to an end. And this program can help provide tools to your clients so they can have a positive co-parenting relationship in the future for the benefit of their children. Therapists love this program because if therapists are seeing children, they too don't want their clients' parents to sabotage the good work that the therapist is trying to do to support the child. And sometimes parental conflict continues when parents leave the therapy session. So often professionals are not interested in rewriting emails. It is time consuming and it is very expensive. So on the screen, you have an email that's a compilation of some topics that I've received over the years. Typical topic we see a lot as lawyers is, what do I do with clothing that doesn't come back to my home? There are other issues that are raised in this email, and you'll see that one parent complains about the girls receiving gummy bears right before the parental transition, which ruined their appetite for supper. Somebody might have a little cold, and we have that little sarcastic, it would be nice to be able to give them a healthy supper to try to get them better. There's the cigarette smoke issue that needs to be addressed, and there's the ever popular, you didn't give the stool softener medicine. Just as an aside, I received an email with a picture of one of the girls' bowel movements in the toilet. And I thought to myself, I'm a lawyer, I went to law school. These are not things that should be in my inbox, but this is what happens when parents are in conflict. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts of the program. This program is different than mediation. This program is more directive and educational than what might be expected from a mediation process, which is much more client focused. This program is also different than parenting coordination. In parenting coordination, the PC may see parents separately if there's a reason to do so. Maybe there is a reason why at the beginning the parents can't sit in the same room. In Good Talk for Parents, the parents will attend sessions together. Another difference is children do not participate in this process. In parenting coordination, the PC may see a child separately from the parents. In Good Talk for Parents, we actually request that the parents do, the expectation is that the parents will do the hard work within the sessions. Parents receive a folder with articles that I've collected over the years and a wonderful resource, a book called The Co-Parenting Survival Guide by Liza Thayer and Jeff Zimmerman. Parents will schedule in-person sessions to address their pending issues. Diane is going to talk about what parents will do and how they'll communicate in those sessions to make that happen. Diane?
Hi, and thank you, Shari. I am always so grateful to you for training us with Good Talk for Parents. It reminds me of something that really resonated with me when I was in social work school, and that was when our professor said that when there are two people who are now your clients, they're not real, they're your clients, but the real client now becomes the interaction between the two of them, and that is your focus now. So good talk for parents clearly, is a link to what we were taught. And again, thank you for this. So what we help parents with is, as Shari was saying, is to reframe or look at the communication that they have with the other party. Because when people, respond, or when people use anger, to communicate with their other partner, the other partner might, respond and react to the anger as opposed to what the message is. So what we do in Good Talk for Parents, and we'll do it right in the session, is we get parents to look at, I statements. So what it would be is, what is the concerning behavior, how they feel about that, and we'll look at some list of feelings which would label specific emotions, because then the message is more clear. We want, that's one of the goals of this too. The effect of the situation on your children, and then what could be done alternatively. Now, we'll say when we start using this with parents, they'll say, well, I feel like a phony using this, or this sounds too stilted. And what my response is, well, what would the alternative be? And has anything else worked? Could we just try it? And parents usually do try it. So, when the children have for example, different bedtimes at our homes, I feel concerned because I can't wake them up in the morning. The kids get off schedule and find it hard to get up, and it affects their school performance and after school activities. You see, I statements as opposed to you statements that could make the other parent feel defensive. So what would be the solution? So we would always, what could we do differently? I would appreciate if we could be in agreement about what time they have to go to sleep on school nights. So these I statements, is like what Shari was saying, is in a complete packet of materials that she's collected with specific tools. So one of them is I statements, but we also use I statements in our parent education classes, and the participants there also get this form, and as well as the vocabulary of emotions that I'll show you. So if parents went to FamilyKind's Parent Ed and followed it up with Good Talk for Parents, that would really cover them with regard to looking at their communication. So here's some of the feelings that we talk about, right? And I think just parents seeing these lists helps them to start to identify the feelings. And even in Parent Ed, we get people to practice this. So this might be some of the more negative feelings. This is in your slides that you'll be getting, and this would be the more uh, um, upbeat, or because that's also in communication. So we want to have like a wide range of emotions. What we do also is that we have a weekly agenda, and what we would do with the agenda topics is to have parents populate this form, which is also in their packet. And I'll be giving you a case example and showing you, talking about how we use this. And Shari will also be giving you an example from her practice. We ask parents to have this as on a weekly basis, and you might be populating some of the stuff in, greater and lesser categories depending on what's going on. We look at it for tone and for content and for clarity. And also we would suggest to people, well, you might want to text for incidentals. I'm going to be 10 minutes late. The after school is running late, or etc. And sometimes what you could have with some parents is that a goal could be that they could have this via a telephone conversation. So, Shari, I think you wanted to share this edited email.
I did. And before I do that, I want to talk about that agenda. That agenda helps parents stay focused. It'll help them avoid rambling on for 4 pages like we talked about. We very much want to focus parents on what we call the business of co-parenting. And when parents know that somebody has reviewed and provided revisions, to an email that they're going to receive, there's actually a feeling of relief. Some of these parents have exchanged very hurtful, very nasty emails, and they actually feel very tense when they get an email from the other parent. Knowing that this piece, which I really felt was a missing piece in the co-parenting communication program, knowing that this is here to support parents in between their sessions, and the emails are respectful, they are businesslike, makes such a big difference on how parents are willing to engage with the other parent. So as we get to this email, the other point I want to talk about with emails is sometimes people will say, well, we don't fight, we don't argue, but there's still conflict because the parents don't have an agreement. And we encourage parents to use fulsome communication. We can't expect parents to make a decision about their child unless they have all of the information. So an analogy I like to offer is if you call your local pizza place and you order a meat pizza and your pizza arrives and it has bacon on it and you're disappointed. Why are you disappointed? You didn't specify what you wanted. You just said a meat pizza. So somebody else decided what they were going to put on the pizza. You had the choice of ham, you had the choice of bacon, you had the choice of sausage and meatball. Your co-parent is not a mind reader. So the more clear your communication is with each other, the more information you provide in terms of a topic, the more likely you'll be able to avoid a misunderstanding, which can cause conflict. Has nothing to do with control by the other parent. It has to do with effectuating a solid co-parenting relationship. So here's an email that has been revised. So we ask parents to start off an email with what we call good stuff, something good about their child that should be shared with the other parent. We like to start off on a positive note. Then we have medical. This child had some non-prescription sunglasses, and there was a comment made by the other parent, and the parent writing the email included, is your concern the reason you stated that she looked like a special education student with them on? Again, not helpful, wanted to delete it. School, this particular week, there was nothing to add about school. Activities, this specific entry goes to what I was just talking about in terms of not asking your parent to be a mind reader and putting some good information in. So the parent appropriately thanked the other parent for allowing their child to bring roller skates, and then said she did not practice wearing them this week, but didn't say anything more. So was it because they weren't going to do anything, any activity because the other parent sent the roller skates? So I asked the other parent to add, because we were so busy with other activities. Just give that full information. Next slide, please. The other important thing that we ask parents to do is to work together and solve problems about their child as a team. So under scheduling, under discipline, you'll see some of the revisions. So one parent alerted the other about a disciplinary action that was taken. And then it's a great opportunity to say to the other parent, please help me, please keep me informed if you observe any of this same behavior. I think we need to send a clear message that we expect that our child needs to be responsible for her actions and that we together value honesty. So really making sure that parents find out what's going on in the other parent's home and work together to solve those types of problems. Diane is going to talk about the next important nuts and bolts piece of Good Talk for Parents. I would also say that sometimes parents shift from the typed agenda to a phone call. It's not expected, it's not required. Sometimes parents like to keep that agenda going because it just gives them a constant flow of information. And sometimes parents will just use the agenda and have a weekly phone call. Really, we take parents as they arrive and what is most comfortable for them. Diane, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Shari. It was really great information that you shared about the nuts and bolts of our program, and your case. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a case that I had for over a span of many months. It was parents who had a 10-year-old child. The parents were in their early 40s. They were not in court at the moment that they came. However, they were pretty much arguing and not having great communication intermittently. I'll say intermittently because they did say, and I saw it, they did have the ability to communicate effectively, and they rightly, identify that sometimes they need assistance, but when they need assistance, it's pretty significant. And they had some issues on the table, which at that time was the child's middle school placement, which was pending for the next academic year. The choice of summer camp the child had just attended, the father's relationship with alcohol that the mother had had issues with, and that was a big sticking point for this family. So, as Shari had mentioned, after every session, one of the other tools that we use is a sample summary letter, and that details what happened in each session so we're all on the same page. And sometimes, parents will say, no, I didn't say that, or, so, there can even be a discussion about that. But, so you want to well, I wanted to make sure I took good notes, of course. So I'm giving you a sample summary letter of one of my first sessions with these parties, because it also gives the structure of Good Talk. So I let them know that there would be one email a week, and any incidental information between the time the email is written and would take place via text message. I think probably all of the parents who came to Good Talk for Parents acknowledged that they did have explosive and not productive email communication between the two of them. So they were receptive to the weekly agenda. I think across the board, parents found it to be a useful tool. So with the couple that I work with, they acknowledged the communication hadn't been optimal, and they approached FamilyKind for assistance. With this party, they had also tried other mediators and other alternatives, and it might have worked for a little while, but for whatever reason, communication seemed to have broken down. Another tool we use is that at the first session, the parents are asked to choose a buzzword that any one of the three of us can use if we feel that the communication and the conversation is not going in a productive direction. And we did use that in our work together. So, the tone of discussion, continues to be cordial. And so the momentum would not fall apart. And also, parents were asked to bring a picture of the child to put in the middle of the table to every session, so we knew who we were talking about. And we would also start out with naming something positive about the relationship the other parent has with your child. So in this case, the parents had very different communication styles. The mother was more of a doer, and she was the one who researched, and she didn't always have a lot of patience. She she was very goal oriented. Dad had more of a process. He thought that mom was sometimes making decisions without him. He didn't appreciate that sometimes he would find out about plans, very important plans about the child, from the child and not from the mother. He felt, I would say, marginalized, sometimes disregarded. And mom thought that dad was too laid back and got very frustrated when he didn't respond to her in a time frame that she thought was acceptable. He would also come to our sessions pretty regularly, 10, 15 minutes late, which infuriated her, which I think also like kind of like acted out the issue, like I was seeing it. So we were able to process that and get her to use I statements about how she felt, and I supported that too, because, you would want him to be on time. Um, so that yeah, so we were off to a good start, from the beginning. Some other things in that happened in this case was that they had been going back and forth with Soberlink he before they came to FamilyKind, and he was very much opposed to it. He minimized the her concerns about the alcohol, but she was, steady with that. No, I want him to be on SoberLink. So we were able to use the sessions for him to agree to SoberLink, where he would use um, a device that would be an alcohol monitoring tool. And it was designed that whenever the child was with him, he would use SoberLink. What happened was that the father was also severely asthmatic, and sometimes he needed to give himself a treatment even during the session. He coughed a lot. And so he needed to take that medication as soon as he got up. But if the child was with him, the deal was he was going to use Soberlink and use the breathalyzer. And so what was happening was that the test was getting skewed. So what I was able to do was that, because mom was extremely concerned, and he was very upset, saying, what's going on, because you're not supposed to medicate before you do the test. So I was able to get a conference call going. Soberlink accommodated us, and I conferenced them in during one of our sessions. And what they recommended was that dad use a low flow mouthpiece that they mailed to him for a nominal cost. And he was able to use that mouthpiece so that the test wouldn't skew anymore. Um, with regard to the middle school, there was a lot of conversation about that. Things got thorny at certain points. This was, yes, as was mentioned, good talk. Both parents are in the room, way here and there, and we would process the reason why. If it just seemed that maybe I needed to hear a little bit more from each party, or they just needed a platform, I did caucus with them once, possibly twice, and always with a goal that seemed to work. Mom was concerned, and the theme just kept playing out. I think when you work with people with their communication, you see the theme keeps playing out, and then you see where the frustration points are, where the sticking points are. So, mom was going to all the tours, she was doing the research. He didn't always go. She had we'll say, stronger personality, a little more forceful during the sessions, and he was feeling frustrated. At the end of the day, what happened is that the child got to go to the school of her first choice. And both parties were able to say, well, that wasn't my first choice, but it's a reputable enough school, so that's where the child would go to school. With regard to the camp, the father felt that the mother made a decision to take the child to a camp in Massachusetts for the summer, and that it interfered with his parenting time, and that he didn't, really have, it was very difficult to get there for visiting day. But what he was able to say to her was, when I went up to see her, she was just doing so well, and I was so happy about the social contacts she had. So, you know, we were able to work through some issues. I did help them, as Jerry was saying, about with regard to the editing of the emails for clear, you want clear content and to look at tone. And so what these parties did, when I noticed a pattern, was they would go through the weekly agenda, and I didn't really have to do too many edits. And then we will come to the end, and particularly around areas that had to do with the alcohol, or where the mother thought the father was lax, then sometimes the not so helpful words would come out that could trigger. So in one of them, dad said, it's destructive to say that I was drunk when you really didn't know. So I helped them to edit that, to kind of, what's another word, for destructive? Well, maybe an I statement. And then one time he didn't get an email or something happened that he picked the child up from school late because he didn't know that the after school had been canceled. And mom wrote, well, she was the only kid left there. Don't you read the emails? And so my edit was, could you simply say what happened and give him the benefit of the doubt? Um, so yes. So what we look at is that we want to use the tools. Hopefully we're able to show you examples and you could read through the slides to look at, how we utilize some of the tools. Again, SoberLink was, not just in this case, but it's just been a really fantastic resource, can be tailored to meet the unique needs of your family, highly regarded by the court. And the court, I've seen, judges who are really, informed about, and attorneys about how SoberLink works, can design a program. I've seen that some parents have to, test 3 times a day. I've seen that parents have to test when they're with the child, etc. So, Shari, I'll turn it over to you. I think you had a couple of words about our family wizard.
Yep, I did. So I've been a fan of Our Family Wizard for many, many years. And for this purpose, the program is a great resource. Not only can the parents use Good Talk for Parents to create helpful, effective, healthy emails, when they're uploaded into Our Family Wizard, they're in good shape. The other thing is that the parties can grant the facilitator who's working with the parents access to Our Family Wizard. So the facilitator can check in on emails if there have been emails going back and forth that weren't sent directly to the facilitator for review, or maybe the parties just want somebody's eyes on their emails. So it really is a great tool. It has a tonometer, so it can help pick up some of the more destructive tone that might not be so helpful in these emails. The other thing that I want to highlight is the efficacy of the facilitator. So parents have to communicate and no two parents are alike. So my message always is to parents, know your audience. Parents need to figure out how to get their messages across to the person who's reading and considering the issues that are raised in the email. And the facilitator can be very helpful with that on behalf of the parents. So people ask, well, when can parents come into Good Talk for Parents? And the answer is anytime. If they are mid litigation, participating in a program that will help them communicate more effectively, can also help build trust, and they may be able to reach some agreements on issues that prevented them from reaching an agreement on their case. Sometimes people come in after the case is over, and that is absolutely fine too. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes the legal paperwork is finished, but the conflict persists. And parents are tied forever. So as soon as they can get their opportunity to work on communicating more effectively is always a good time. Any questions? Call FamilyKind, discuss the facts of the case. Somebody will be able to assist. I, of course, remain available to answer any specific questions about the program. And I encourage you to think about this as a great resource for your clients or your patients. And I think it has a lot of benefits, and we're happy to answer questions.
So thank you so much, Shari, and for Diane for that presentation. You covered a lot of good information. So I'll invite our attendees to use the chat and send in any questions you have for Shari and Diane. A couple of people did ask if they would get the slides, so we will be sending that out when we send out the archive in a couple of days. And while we're waiting for some of the questions to come in, I'll invite Leslie Friedland, our executive director, to say a few words. Leslie, and you'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay,
there you
thanks,
go.
Patty. And thank you, Diane and Shari. That was such a great presentation. And thank you for sharing details about this program. I was so happy when Shari approached me about this and shared how successful it was in Connecticut. To me, it's sort of like a no-brainer. Communication is so key to healthy families, whether the parents are living together or are separated and divorced. And we know when children are caught in the middle of their parents' conflict, it's really harmful for them. So it doesn't matter where their parents live, as long as they're communicating in a healthy way. So I so appreciate that Diane and Shari and a few other of our professionals got trained in this great program and are able to offer it. So I just wanted to share that.
Great. And we do have a couple of questions that are coming in. One is, does Good Talk for Parents work in conjunction with our Family Wizard? And is the facilitator the same as the parent coordinator?
So 2 questions in that in that one question. So Good Talk for Parents is not part of our Family Wizard. I want you to think about the email review and revision. If parents are going to share and alternate that weekly co-parenting agenda, that could be the substance of an email that is uploaded to our Family Wizard. Good Talk for Parents is not part of parenting coordination. In fact, most parenting coordinators that I know are not thrilled and not excited about reviewing emails. So it's they're 2 completely different programs.
Okay. And we have another question coming in. Do you work with couples where one parent is very negative and the other not so much? And if so, what, if anything, do you do differently with these couples?
Diane, you want to take that one?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And I think often we find, even if when in Good Talk for Parents, that there's one parent who we find that dynamic a lot. What I say is to use the tools, because the tools really do work. That's your framework, you know? And I think to just use the engagement skills that you would use with any other client. With the parents that I talked about, when things seem to be really thorny, when it seemed to be, that it seemed like they each needed their own platform, I did caucus. So, I think you can kind of like move around with it. But if you have two willing people, people at least like, showing up, I think there's hope.
And I would follow up with that. There are some parents who get it right away. When you talk about the weekly agenda, you talk about healthy round of communication. Sometimes there are very few edits. I'm so sorry. I'm in an office and the phone is ringing. Some parents take a little more work. What I found that parents really like is the fact that there's someone else there watching over them, helping them improve their communication, and they find that very comforting.
Mhm, mhm,
Great.
mhm.
And we have another question. I'm not sure we can answer it, but we can certainly get the information for you, but I'll still ask it anyway. It's about SoberLink. So the person is asking who is reading the results and what happens if the parent is found to have alcohol on breath? And would any amount of alcohol trigger it? So I don't know if either of you have the answer to that question, but we can certainly try and get that information to the attendee.
Okay, I mean, I could take a stab at that.
Okay.
So I would just say, just like I called and asked if we could have a conference call, which by the way, they were so accommodating. It was California time. So they just tweaked when I had my appointment with my client, with my clients. So what happens with SoberLink is that, and often in other roles that I've had as a social worker, the email, and you know what? I remember the parents did put me on the email chain of who would be getting the response. Yes, I did get this. And so, and that's an option. So what happens is that the parent would use the alcohol monitoring tool, which is a breathalyzer with, it takes a picture of them, right? So it's an ID. And then within maybe 5-10 minutes, the email will come out that's either positive or negative, and there's also a weekly report. This one family I'm working with now for supervised visitation, the judge has ordered that before any supervised visitation, I'm doing it on Zoom now, the father has to test. So sadly, he has a significant alcohol problem, and sometimes it's scant positive from the evening before. So the court is, I can't have a session. So, you know, it is a very sensitive test, but that's the information I do have. But I will say that they're extremely user-friendly sober links. So if, you know, people had specific questions, they may want to contact them directly.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for attending today and for sending in such great questions. Also, thank you to SoberLink and Our Family Wizard for helping us to sponsor this series so that we could actually do it for professionals. And also, thank you to Shari, Diane, and Leslie for your thoughts today. And as we're closing out today's event, I'll give you each an opportunity to offer a final thought. Sometimes, like if, you know, we covered a lot today, if there was one key takeaway, what would it be? So I'll start with Diane.
If there's one key takeaway, I would just say that I think the clearest communication that people can have with each other, even if it is awkward or I call it a hard conversation. I mean, I think just in regular life, if we could have those hard conversations that people substitute something else for, I mean, I just think is really important, you know, in looking at how our parents communicate.
Okay. And Shari?
I'm going to share a quick little story about a case that I had. I had been working with a couple for quite a while, and dad was with the daughter in a store, and she found boots that she absolutely had to have. And they agreed to split the cost of clothing. So he got on the phone with the daughter, called the mother, and we put this on the agenda to talk about because she felt that they set her up, and she felt if she said no to the boots, the daughter was going to think she was the bad guy. And they had been working in the program for a while. And as we were talking about this particular incident, I could see the light bulb going off on dad's, above dad's head. And he said, you know what? You are right. How can I make this better? I know we're supposed to share the cost of these clothing items equally, but I'm going to take more financial responsibility for this because you should not have been the bad guy. And I thought I was doing the right thing by involving you, but I understand it set you up. And that was, to me, one of the best things that could have happened. They got it.
Great. And Leslie, I'll give you the final word.
Just, you know, just to everybody, you know, thank you, Diane and Shari, and for all the professionals who are here, and to Patty. I would just say, put this in your toolbox. I think we as professionals need many tools to really safely shepherd our families through the process. And I'm just so excited that we are able to offer this tool. And if you have questions about it, since it's not mediation, it's not parenting coordination, it's a new concept, please reach out. We have Emily Jonas here on the call today. I see she's our Director of Parent Services and could help you flesh out whether or not this service would be right for you, your client.
Wonderful. And Diane, could you go to the last slide? Wonderful. And so that is the phone number, and the email is how you could also get in touch with Emily, and she can answer any questions that you have about this program or many of our programs. And so again, just thank you, everybody. I also want to thank again SoberLink and our Family Wizard. And also, FamilyKind is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we offer our services with the help of sponsors as well as the donations of families and professionals like yourself. So if you're at all inclined to support FamilyKind, we encourage you to visit our website at familykind.org/help/familykind. And with that, our next event will be in November, the third Monday, as always, in November. We look forward to seeing you then. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
I
Thank,
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye.